day we changed comic ages, June 1st, 2011.
Hi, this is Eric from Longbox Review at longboxreview.wordpress.com, and in association with Oddfellows Thoughts at oddfellowsthoughts.wordpress.com. Travis is with us again. Hi, Travis.
Hello?
Did I say that the URL correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So, Travis, we're here to talk about the big news coming out of DC Comics. The same day, the day and date, digital comics and print comics across the line. Isn't that great news?
Sure. Doesn't matter to me at all.
So you were supposed to go, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
No, really, of course.
The other elephant in the room, huh?
Yes, the other elephant. So, yes, there's that whole day and date thing. But really, we're here to talk about the big news starting from last Tuesday, which was the DC relaunch, reboot, new number ones, whatever you want to, however you want to refer to it, even though I know some postings have been saying it's not a reboot.
Reboot. Well, that's DC, isn't it? Aren't they the one doing damage control saying it's not a reboot?
Probably. That's probably where it's coming from, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because Dan Didio came out a couple days after the initial, oh my God, this is going to happen. Didn't he send a letter to somebody saying, it's a relaunch, it's not a reboot? Yeah. I don't know where I saw that out. I saw it someplace. Anyway. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Interesting is a way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously I had the initial same reaction that most hardcore DC fans had. Oh my God! But,
the sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Basically, yeah. I'm kind of past it now. Now I'm nervously waiting to see what comes out. And the only part that concerns me is there are books that I really don't want messed with, and if they get messed with, I'll be really sad. But am I going to froth at the mouth and say I'll never read another DC comic again in my life? No, that's ridiculous. I mean, I've decided that I'm going to have to. Granted, it's been 4 or 5 days since the announcement, so I've had time to settle into the fact that obviously I'm just going to have to go along for the ride because it's not like I really have any control over it, right? Not unless I can convince a lot of other readers to, suddenly ignore the whole thing.
So that's your choice. Either you continue to buy the stuff they're going to put out in September or not.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see.
Let me go back and just quickly read through the announcements the announcements and some of the things that have been said at the very beginning of this, and then we can talk about that.
Sure.
So on Tuesday, May 31st, on the DC Nation blog, The Source. Let's see here. On Wednesday, August 31st, DC Comics will launch a historic renumbering of the entire DC Universe line of comic books with 52 first issues, including the release of Justice League by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. And that comes out the same day as Flashpoint number 5. So those are the only two books that are releasing that last week in August.
Sure, but didn't they spend a week plus telling us that was the only thing that was going to be released?
What, Flashpoint number 5?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been the only thing that we've known about for, at least a week. Probably, I think maybe.
So do you think they advanced the Justice League thing? Or they were always planning on releasing it the same, and they just were kind of not lying to us, but not telling us the whole truth?
Yes, I think that's true. I think that they were planning on doing that. Although I have been reading some stuff online that suggested that they wanted to get ahead of the rumors and publications coming out of the Bleeding Cool. So they wanted to perhaps get the news out there from them instead of it being leaked. But I've also read some things that suggest that perhaps DC, it's proper, not people within DC just kind of letting these things slip, but actually editorial was maybe seeding some stuff to Bleeding Cool about these things.
Well, I'm sure.
But who knows for sure?
Yeah, whatever.
How it got out. But anyway, yeah. So Flashpoint number 5 is coming out. The only thing coming out at the end of August, and now we have Justice League from Johns and Lee. And then in September, and we'll see the solicitations here in a couple weeks. What else is coming out in September? The other 51 comics from DC.
Well, we already know what some of them are.
Yes, we do. So what do you want to run down the stuff that has been officially announced? I know there's a lot of things that is being talked about, but DC itself has not announced those particular ones. So do you want to run down the list of the ones that have been officially announced?
Sure.
Do you have that?
Yeah, I do. So, we're looking at 11 titles, I believe. And of course, the first one you mentioned is the Justice League #1. That's, do we want to talk about these as we go down?
Well, why don't you do the whole list, and then we can.
And so then they also announced new Wonder Woman, written by Brian Orazio and art by Cliff Chang.
Okay.
And what Aquaman #1, Flash #1, Firestorm #1, and Green Arrow. Hawkman. Oh, Savage Hawkman.
Oh God.
Yeah. Justice League International, Mr. Terrific, Captain Atom, and DC Universe Presents is what they've officially announced. They're going to be actual titles.
Well, but then they follow that up with Green Lantern Corps, Green Lantern New Guardians, and Red Lanterns.
Right.
So now we have what? How many is that? 1, 2,
15?
3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 15 total that they've officially announced.
Yeah.
But then we've gotten a few, I think mostly from Bleeding Cool, some things that have come out, which, and some of these are kind of obvious, right? Batman, Superman, those are going to be there.
Right.
Action Comics, Detective Comics. I mean, those, you got to have those, although there is some question now if those will actually renumber at 1, but we'll see. And then there's been some talk about Teen Titans, which actually there's something new today about that. Batwoman, Grifter, My Greatest Adventure, OMAC, Batgirl, and Nightwing. Do you have any others? Those are the ones that I've culled from various sources.
No, I think that's all the ones that I've seen him talking about too.
So if those all are true, the ones I just mentioned, that gets us to about halfway to 52.
Mm-hmm.
If not exactly halfway, I'd have to recount those. But so there's still a lot of damn comics coming out in September.
But there's a lot of comics out there though. I mean, I haven't actually gone through and counted out what DC produces and what's going to be produced when this 52 hits. But that's going to put them pretty close to where it's at. I don't know if there are actually 52 ongoing, superhero titles, but they have to have about 52 titles going on at any one time.
You mean right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if I remember correctly, there were 54, 56.
Mm-hmm.
Because I looked at the Mayo report on Bleeding Cool just before the announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing the number crunching on that. And I think it was 54 or 56. I could be wrong, of course. I don't have that link up, but yeah, 50 some issues of comics. But the big thing here is that 52 #1s in September.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's a lot of damn comics.
Yes, it is. And if they think everybody's going to buy into, it's #1, I got to get it. So what's 52 times $3? That's a serious chunk of change.
Yeah.
If you were really thinking you were going to pick up all of those #1s.
It's over $150 just for those.
Uh-huh. Well, or you wait, 4 weeks and you buy it digitally at a lower cost, right?
Right, so that was one of the things they talked about too.
Because that digital plan is you can buy it at cover price day of release.
Right.
Or you can wait longer and then get them at some cheaper rate.
Yes. Okay, so I have it right here. DC will. This is also from Bleeding Cool. I love this website, by the way. This is from Bob Wayne.
Trust.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's a lot of rumors coming out, mostly from Bleeding Cool about this stuff. But they update their information as it becomes official from the publisher. So.
Right.
But this is actually from the letter to retailers that DC Senior VP of Sales Bob Wayne sent out.
Right.
Basically, and this is where I think this is probably where it started, as far as it is not a reboot, quote unquote.
Right.
So I mean that was coming from him. Let's see here. So DC will hold the line at $2.99 on print and digital, dropping to $1.99 digital after 4 weeks, with $3.99/$2.99 on oversized issues. And they talk about some variant covers, blah blah, for retailers, but I don't care about that. I don't care about variants. Do you care about variant stuff at all?
Well, I like looking at the covers.
Sure,
I've
but
ever
do
bought
you?
one. No.
Yeah, okay,
No.
yeah. And I've only been tempted a few times.
Quite honestly, I don't even know how you go about the process of getting those. I mean, because for me, I don't really have much in the way of a local comic book store, so I get my stuff all online. And
Wait, doesn't your online store offer you the variant covers as well to order?
I'm not sure even know how to go about getting them.
Oh,
The truth, I haven't really looked into it. I know it's there. I know it's there, but I have not actually looked at the process of that because they look spendy, and I can't imagine paying I don't know the cost of 2 or 3 comic books for one comic book. I much rather if I got that money to spend, I'd much rather spend it on more stories.
well, yeah, that's the way I approach it as well. But there have been a few times where I've been really tempted to get that double or more cost variant cover just because it looks so nice.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna put it in a bag and I'm gonna stick it in a box somewhere so it loses something. If I'm gonna stick it on my wall as a piece of art, that's different.
Like I said, I was tempted. I didn't go along. I didn't follow through with it.
Right.
Because I'm a cheap bastard and I want more. I want more out of my comics than just a nice looking cover image.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you get the whole day or the digital side of it, which at this point I'm not really all that interested in. Although I do like the fact that they're dropping the price after a month to $1.99, which to me, I'll just throw this out there and we can, because we talked a lot about digital comics last time, but $1.99 really should be like the top price for any comic that comes out of DC or Marvel to me, for me to even consider buying. I really 99 cents is kind of like, I think is a sweet spot. I may buy a few more because I told you from the last time we talked, I bought a few issues of not a few. I bought the Final Night miniseries from 1996 from Comixology because they were having a sale for things that had to do with Green Lantern.
Sure.
And there was a tie-in with that from Green Lantern at that time, and so I picked those up and read them a couple days ago. And for 99 cents, yeah, that was an okay experience. I'm still not sold on the whole digital versus having the actual comic, the print comic, but for 99 cents to catch up on a storyline that I hadn't read from back then that I wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah, I was okay, but no way would I pay $1.99 for those. No way.
Yeah, well, that's definitely how it is for me. I want the actual book, but we know that digital's great, as long as it doesn't kill as long as it doesn't kill my comic book experience. Digital's great.
Okay. Let's talk about that because so we have this big announcement. DC's going to do all number ones, 52 number ones, and they're restarting everything. So some of the stuff that's coming out is that these it's not changing everything that's been building up these last months or even few years, like the whole Blackest Night thing that doesn't just go away. That event happened, but what they're talking about is that they're they're de-aging the heroes somewhat and trying to bring in new readers and bring us old guard along for the ride, but they're restarting is not really the right word here. They're just kind of reintroducing, perhaps is a better word, these characters and the various titles that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your you said before, but tell me again, what was your initial reaction to this idea?
Oh my God, no. I mean, I just the whole the idea of everything that we know basically being flushed on a toilet and starting over from scratch again is somewhat disturbing. If that's really what they're going to do. I mean, yeah, I guess suppose it's hard for somebody new to get into comics to read something they don't know something about. Um, but I guess in my opinion, you aren't very adventurous if you can't just pick up a book and start reading it. I mean, if the book is just so steep with old mythology, yeah, it's gonna be really hard to follow. But I don't think really there are many of that books that do that. That try and maintain that heavy level of continuity. It's just my opinion. But I don't know. I mean, I guess if this is going to open it up and actually get people excited, and you're going to get more comic book readers and whatnot, awesome. I'm not sure that that's going to do it, other than as a general rule, people are just talking about comic books more, talking about DC more because of this whole stunt that they're doing. But I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I don't know that I want to have to relearn a character. It's different if I don't know anything about the character and I'm starting out at number one. Yay! I'm real curious as to how they're going to write this so it appeals to me, somebody who's been reading DC Comics for as long as they have, and appealing to the new person. This better be good. This is what it all comes down to, right? If they aren't good books, they're screwed.
Yes.
Because you're going to have sour grapes from us old people who've been reading this stuff forever if you dumb it down or start it all over again, and then they're not good. So we lost all that history that we can at least, enjoy. Not that they've taken it away from me, because you haven't, obviously. I still own the books and whatnot, and I can still read the old stuff and enjoy all those stories and stuff, and they're never going to take that away from me. But significantly altering these characters, to meet some new need, and then the books be crappy and you don't gain any readers out of it, what was the point? Making all these characters young too, that kind of confuses me. There's some of them that feel somewhat old to me just because I've been reading them as long as I have. But I don't know, how many old superheroes are there outside of like the JSA?
But depends on what you define as old.
Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm getting old, so therefore I don't see them as being old.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, just consider Superman, right? If their goal is to bring in a younger audience, which I think we both agree, comics kind of needs that to some degree.
Oh, sure, definitely. Well, you got to keep bringing new people in.
Yeah. So, but Superman is this old married guy, right? So.
Oh, we're gonna pick on married people, are we? Okay.
Well,
I'm still bitter about Green Arrow and Black Canary breaking up. So they pull apart Lois and Clark. I think that's a mistake too.
Well, yeah.
Unless they're going to recourt that again. If the rumor is that they're busting that up so then they can have some sort of bizarre love triangle between Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, that's stupid.
Okay.
That's me putting it nicely.
Yeah. I had not heard of the love triangle. Hadn't you? I'd seen them.
That's a Bleeding Cool thing. The whole hook up Lois and Clark and yeah.
Well, I had seen the thing about Superman and Wonder Woman possibly becoming an item, but I didn't realize that there was a potential love triangle going on here.
Why wouldn't there be?
I kind of like the idea, but it depends on how they do it, right?
I guess. I don't know. Moving on, there's just so many questions. When you start looking at individual books and whatnot, if the books still exist, well, we know some of them are going to exist. Obviously, there's going to be a Superman book. There's going to be Batman books. You start backing these people's reality up, so they can start all over again and do something different or whatever. Those guys all carry a lot of baggage with them that are significant people and events within the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
You start backing that stuff up, then you start questioning what everything else is. I mean, you back Wonder Woman up and keep her the age she is now in the current JMS Phil Hester run, where she's some young, early 20-year-old person. I'm assuming, right? That's what she's supposed to be, is somewhere around 23 or whatever.
I think so, yeah.
So, does Donna Troy still exist? Do some of those other? I mean, I don't know. It just seems.
Yeah. What this reminds me of is, in many senses, is how things were right after Crisis.
Right.
because
Well, supposedly it didn't. Not what they really wanted to do. Wasn't that what some of the writers wanted to do? Rapid
that
Crisis was.
that's what Marv Wolfman wanted and some of the other
Yeah.
editors there wanted to do is like, well, if you do this big thing where you basically, well, you rebooted the DC universe
Right.
and
Let's
all the
truly
all,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, all these universes are gone now, and we just have the one Earth, and everything's consolidated, and you have this thing but not that thing. Yeah, he was behind that. Let's restart everything at number one,
Sure.
but the publisher, they're like, I don't know about that, so they didn't do it.
Right.
And then you have this weird period right after Crisis came out where some writers were still telling the stories that they had started before Crisis began or during Crisis, so they had to finish those up, and or not knowing exactly what was in and what was out as far as the character's history, and so you get these weird stories where some things are in there, but then like an issue later they're not, and it was just this weird time at DC where things were just so in flux you didn't know what was going on. It took a good 2 or 3 years, I think, before things kind of settled down, and we as fans knew what this character was about after Crisis.
Uh-huh.
So
that was a bad thing?
I don't know if it was a bad thing. It was just, but business-wise, I think it is. I mean,
so
this
could end up being a really bad thing. If the editors really aren't on board with making sure they've got a clear vision as to what the heck these characters are doing, this could just be the same mess up that was.
Well, but I think that this time is different because it appears that they have an idea in mind. They have a plan. They're starting at number one. They've come out and said, as Dan DiDio said, this is from the USA Today article, we really want to inject new life in our characters in line. This was a chance to start not at the beginning, but at a point where our characters are younger and the stories are being told for today's audience. So, yeah, okay, that does concern me a little bit. A chance to start not at the beginning, but at a point where our characters are younger. Blah blah blah. Okay, but
everybody better be on board. That's just it.
Yes.
If everybody's not on board, it's going to come apart at the seams.
Well, I think this time DC Editorial can dictate that a little bit better.
Because of the people who are in charge?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I think it probably makes a really big difference.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. I'm not against all this, and I can certainly pick up these new comics and read them for what they are, and not. What I'm going to try and do, and I keep telling myself, is when I get some of these comics, I'm just going to read them for what they are and not play the, well, what about, and what if, and what happened, and just read it. And read it, enjoy it for what it is, because obviously that stuff that's before it, either the whole Flashpoint stuff's going to straighten it out for us, and set it all in its place to some degree, or we're going to read it and find out what's going on, right? As opposed to, using our vast DC knowledge to say that's out of character or this isn't right or whatever. But I tell you, these people who are going to be writing these books to start out with, they're setting the new mold, right?
Yeah.
Books come out, how these characters are in these first books we have to, if we're supposed to take this stuff at face value and not look at all the prior history, this is how these people are now. So if somebody writes some of these people poorly, or they come off as a jackass, well, we can assume that those characters are jackasses, right? That's how I look at it. That's how I'm looking at it, is if I'm supposed to just take these as being, fresh new comics and what they are, and this kind of, starting from here, and if this is a whole new thing, except for some of those Green Lantern titles, if this is a whole new thing, it's a whole new thing. It'll be interesting. I'm excited about it and very frightened at the same time.
Yeah.
about what all it's going to be.
So, did you see any of the article or forum posts from fans or comic readers? I shouldn't use fans to include everybody that reads comics, but especially DC comics. But did you read any of those responses to this news as it came out?
No.
So I did.
Oh God.
Because I was curious, right? I wanted to see.
I didn't. The first couple of days, I didn't need anybody to help feed into my own paranoia. And oh my God, what are they doing to, 75% of the comic books I read.
Yeah, yeah. So I did. I went on to Bleeding Cool and CBR, and I just kind of read a few things, and basically, there were quite a few posts of people that were excited about the news, and I don't mean excited necessarily in the positive sense, but just this is something new and different, and I'll be interested depending on what's going on and who's doing what and all this stuff. So it was I guess cautious optimism, perhaps.
Right.
The majority of the things that I read were like F you DC.
Right.
Now nothing I'm reading right now, nothing I'm buying from you right now matters. So I'm done with you. I don't care about what's going on. Just a big F you. And
Yep.
and I get that to a certain degree. It's like, okay, yeah, I understand that change is kind of scary sometimes, and yeah,
Sure.
you can look at it like all the stuff that we've been reading for the last few years at least maybe is
Totally unvalidated now.
Yeah, no longer valid. But you know what? What I'd like to know is what the ages are of these people that are posting, because, and this is just purely from my perspective, being a comic fan, a comic reader for over 30 years now, I've seen change like this. I mean, we went through it, you and I, with Crisis, right?
Yep.
And there've been some other type thing. DC does this about every 10 years or so. So it's kind of like this is passé for me. It's these big changes just happen, and Marvel does it to a certain degree, or to a lesser degree, I should say. But they do things like that. It's usually on a per character basis as opposed to a whole Marvel universe type thing.
Right.
But it's just part of comics. It's like just like characters who die come back. It's just one of those little in jokes that we fans know. Someone dies, they come back in a few years. Every however many years it is, the publisher decides, hey, we're going to try this new idea and we're going to go down this road instead of that road.
Oh.
And so for me, it's not like, yeah, it's kind of daunting, but I'm interested in seeing where they're going with this because mostly I'm a big DC fan. I like DC Comics. I like these characters. I like a lot of the creators that's working on DC right now, and I'm really interested in seeing what they do with this. So did you also see Tom Brevoort, his tweets about this? So he's the guy from Marvel, right?
Uh-huh.
What is his senior vice president of publishing?
Publishing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I saw from him was he said the same thing, and Brevoort's done this before when DC announced John's becoming the chief creative officer of DC Comics, and the whole shakeup there with Dan DiDio and Jim Lee becoming co-publishers and all that. He's really good about digging at DC whenever he can, right?
Oh yeah.
Which has pissed me off excuse me, has pissed me off in the past, but it's part of it's a good-natured, rivalry type thing, but the first post that I of his on Twitter that I read about was his, well, you don't need to read anything that from now until September.
Right.
But then, on the flip side, I have to give him credit because there's a few things that he said in favor, sort of. He kind of does these backhanded compliments to DC.
Well, so, I think he does that. I think he does that because he doesn't want to come across as being a total jackass.
Yeah.
I mean, because he says that smart ass thing, and then after the fact, kind of goes, "Oh well, someday I may have to work with some of these people I'm insulting, because, nobody stays with one company forever. At some point or another, they end up going back and forth. Mm-hmm. So I think he's like, okay, now that I've said that, and I'm insulting people that I may have to work with again at some point, I better be nice to some degree. Yeah. I've heard him say crappy stuff. I've heard him say crappy stuff in person. So.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. You come into. You go to the comic conventions, and they have the DC panel or the Marvel panel right after one or the other. So to get the panel early, you end up catching the latter half of another panel. And I don't sit in on too many Marvel panels, but I've certainly been at the end of them when they've said, when the whole price change thing was going on and some of the other stuff. Them say some unnecessary things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and remember that whole.
Isn't he one of the people that's behind the whole? Hey, send us a cover and we'll.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
whole horse crap stuff. So yeah, I'm not very excited by him.
Well,
He's one of those people. I end up seeing his tweets and whatnot, but I try to ignore him just because.
Well, here's
he lights the fanboy up in me and makes me want to punch him in the face.
Well, here's something that maybe will make you want to not punch him in the face, but we'll see. So here's a reader comment, and then he replied.
Oh well, yeah, I saw some of those where he talks about the fact that afterwards, I mean, he's like, well, I think it's great of them, and it's probably a smart move for them, and
yeah, basically, yeah. So here the reader here says, DC Comics just made it 100% certain I'll never pick up another book anytime soon. I don't quite get what he.
What's all the money I'd save?
Well, okay, but 100% certain he says I'll never pick up another book anytime soon.
That's fear talk.
Yeah. I hope I never have to see such a desperate move from Marvel, rebooting/revamping the DC line since the first crisis has only led to terrible things. I don't agree with that. Make mine Marvel. Yay, Marvel fanboy. Okay, so Brevoort then says, I'm happy you feel that way, obviously, about Marvel, but I don't really agree. At this point, doing something massive like this is the smartest thing that DC can do in order to try to capture a large audience and get them to check out their books. Again, backhanded compliment, but...
Kind of and not. You can get that two ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, DC sucks so bad they gotta do some desperate measure to try and.
See, I really think that's what he's implying there.
He is.
Like he said, another thing. I think it's actually a smart play. This is all or nothing time for DC. They'll give this their best hit. So again, he's somewhat supportive, but he's also saying, hey, you DC guys, you're desperate now. I understand that. Good luck. Yeah. But the reaction has been really interesting, and the few people some of the people that we follow on Twitter that have been posting about this, it's been really interesting to read those comments over time, right?
Oh yeah.
Going exactly what you said. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. Yeah,
the fear of the unknown, and I still have some fear. There are titles I fear what's going to happen to them out of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That conversation we had about Zatanna?
Mm-hmm.
No worries now. That title's toast.
I think so too.
You know it. Why? I mean, they like Denny, so let him continue to write that story until September, I guess. I don't know. And some of them they shut down, for whatever reason because they needed people to do other things and whatnot. I guess. I don't know.
So
I mean, to some degree, I understand people saying, well, what's the point of reading what from now until then? Other than I'm not reading the comics just to add to my, expansive knowledge of the DC universe and whatnot. I read to read some good stories and enjoy the characters that are there. So this next couple of months isn't going to affect that. But I'm also reading it knowing that some of those titles are going to be gone. I just can't imagine that they're going to come back.
So have you been contemplating any of these titles? I'm thinking specifically for myself, Justice League of America, maybe Zatanna, Teen Titans for sure. I was going to drop those here in the next few months, but now I'm thinking I'm dropping them after this month after May's issues. I was going to drop them, or June's, depending on where the story was. But now I'm thinking I'm just going to continue with them until they stop at the end of August.
Why?
Just to
for
see
the collection's sake.
Partly, and also just to see where they were going with the story before it ends.
To see if they managed to end it.
Yeah.
Or if it just stops.
Just stops. Yeah. I think the impression I'm getting from stuff I've been reading is that they're trying to hurry up.
Those people are scrambling to try and.
To finish their stories.
Yeah, it was the
like Batman Incorporated, because that was supposed to be a 2-year thing that Morrison was going to work on, and now it's going to be what? So the 6th issue just came out, I think.
Yeah,
and
I'm going to have to do some researching and dig back into when people are saying the stuff that they were saying to try and get some sense as to when did they know this is really what they were going to do. When did they have a solid plan of we're going to pull the plug on the universe, and
I don't think you're going to find that information out there.
I think you don't think so. You don't think we can put it together. You don't think we can put it together when Morrison was saying, "Oh, this is going to be." I envision this, and then when he quit saying that, and some of those other people. I mean, no, obviously there's lots of creators and freelance people who aren't who do DC work but aren't so tied into the universe that they would have as much foreknowledge as to what's going on. You know, I'm sure when we went in March, they knew they were pulling the plug on the whole thing. When we went to the Emerald City Comic Con.
I did think about that because remember how frustrated and upset we were that they weren't telling us anything at all about what was coming out? Yeah.
They can't.
And it was all about Flashpoint. Read Flashpoint,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
right.
that just pissed me off. And
obviously
now, obviously they knew then that they were doing that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter
of... That's when they started canceling some of those titles. Because, we looked at it and I kept going, okay, how come they're canceling, if sales is the reason they're canceling Doom Patrol, Rebels, and other titles that I was reading that they seem to cancel a whole bunch of. If it was sales, then there was a half a dozen to a dozen other comics that should be gone too. Mm-hmm. Gotham City Sirens, Zatanna. There's just a bunch more of them that all should have got the plug pulled on them. If that was the rationale for it, and some of those creators that were on some of those titles that got bumped didn't seem that bothered by it. It seemed like there was already a plan in place of them doing other stuff, because there was.
Right.
A large portion of them were either going to be working on some of the Flashpoint stuff, or they're already scrambling to work on what's next.
Mm-hmm.
I talked with Pete Wood there at the artist for Action Comics. What's next? After you take this break, because I knew he was going to take a break, go on vacation. What was next? And man, he absolutely couldn't say. And
right, because apparently the non-disclosure agreements between the creators and DC were really tight.
Yeah.
Based on what I've read.
And that's that's great and all, but now you start looking back on it and you go, well, no wonder. I mean, they were just like, it was ridiculous at the lack of stuff that they were going to tell us about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, why did they even show up? I guess at those conventions. Why bother? Well, I guess Marvel didn't. So I mean, I give props, to DC for at least showing up. But
yeah.
They showed up and told us nothing. They just said, well, we got big plans coming, but we can't really tell you what they are.
Yeah.
Not just give us the what about Flashpoint thing. I'll give them this. They're gonna give us a bunch of new stuff. They kept telling us that we were complaining about them canceling all these titles, and it was all going to be Superman and Batman. They kept saying, "Well, read Flashpoint, and after Flashpoint, it's all going to change." Yeah, you're right, they are. But like I said, I'm just sometimes when I'm really bored, I'm going to go back and see if I can get a timeline as to what it's, so I can have a sense of how long ago did they have this thing planned. Because like I said, I hope to shout that this isn't half-assed.
Yeah,
I mean, that they've got this thing planned out well.
Well,
because it'll be really a bummer if this thing flops.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's come back to that in a second. But you gotta know that once they announced the restructuring at DC Comics, and it became technically DC Entertainment, right?
But something to do with
that they got all the they got Johns, they got DiDio, they got Lee, they got some other people in there, the senior staff up there with Diane, what's her name, Diane Nelson?
Yep.
Who is the publisher? Or not the publisher. What is she? She runs DC Entertainment, right?
Right.
Okay.
She's the head exec.
Yeah. So they get all these people together and they're like, okay, what are we going to do to make DC Comics number one? That's got to be the basic question that they ask, right?
Well, yeah. How are we going to improve sales? If not number one, at least how are we going to?
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, number one in sales.
Right.
So we have these, the Batman film property, we have the Green Lantern film coming out. We don't really, they got that. That's a whole other issue to talk about. But the marriage between the comics and the films, and what to do there because they've had some big flops recently. I'm thinking of Superman Returns specifically. But yeah, they had to get all these people in a room together and say, okay, what can we do?
Right.
And so, how long ago was that they announced that? That was 2 years ago.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So wasn't it right before Emerald City Comic Con 2009?
Yeah.
All right. So that they do that, they bring in Bob Harris, all that stuff. They had to have at least started the ideas then. about what they're going to do. Whether or not they, the whole start at number 1 after Flashpoint thing was talked about. They had to have started it then. So we can at least, sort of pinpoint I think the beginning of it. And then, you can go back, and I would say you'd be able to go back about 2 years ago and go forward from that point and then see what's going on.
Right.
But then, okay, so then you had Blackest Night coming out that year, and then this year is, they're building up to Flashpoint, and then so maybe even a year ago is when they knew they were going to do it this way, and then so they had to build up this stuff. But then I think, well, then why start things like Batman Incorporated, or why restart Birds of Prey, or things like that, if they knew they were going to be doing this kind of stuff.
Right. Some of that stuff that doesn't make sense.
Especially Birds of Prey. Think about that for a second. So they had that comic, and it stopped, and then there was a big fan outcry, and now I see why, now that I'm getting the latest volume of it. And so they start that, and then we're 12 issues in, a year into it, and here in a couple months they're gonna stop it again. It's like, what? Why do that? I don't understand why they did some of those things, because they had to have known at that point that they were going to be doing this, or maybe they still just had this idea. Okay, we're going to do this thing, but we're not really sure how it's going to affect
how big it's going to be.
Yeah. Maybe they were going to start over certain things, but then maybe someone said, okay, no, we got to do this across the board, or it's not going to work. Type thing. I would just love to know the history of this, and I'm sure it will come out over the next 6 months, maybe a year. As we get things out there, especially
on somebody's deathbed. Yeah,
I don't think we have to wait that long, or maybe it's not even a time issue, but depends on the fans' reaction, right? But especially.
Well, hey, trust me. The next cons that come up and whatnot, I hope somebody's asking some pretty interesting questions.
The news comes out of San Diego.
Is so-and-so going to go back to their old costume or whatever? But I'm hoping that there's a lot of fans out there asking questions. Okay, when did this thing all,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to know who's responsible, because I don't want to know who I have to hunt down and beat up for, making a mess of my reality, as it were.
Yeah.
But, I hope the fans are asking those kinds of questions. Hey, when did this thing get solidified as being how big it is and how big it's going to be and whatnot?
Well, I think my guess is if initially it's successful, we'll start getting that information out. If it's not,
everybody's going to hide.
We may not hear anything.
Or they'll all pin it on Dan when they show him the door, right?
Dan or Jim. Or both.
Jim.
Huh?
They demote him, but they won't get rid of him.
That's probably true.
He's a talent. He actually produces a product.
Okay.
What Dan writes, you can't count as being a product.
Well, yeah. Okay, so since we're on this, Jim Lee, I mean, let's go back and talk about some of these titles, the ones that have been announced. And so obviously let's start with Justice League with Johns and Lee. And I'm looking at the DC Nation. I guess it says cover for Justice League #1, art by Jim Lee and Scott Williams. So now you've got the Big Six here and Cyborg.
Yep. Of 14, I hear there's supposed to be 14 people in the Justice League.
Yeah. Okay. I had not heard that.
Yeah.
So
now.
Who
Where
else?
I heard that number, I can't remember. But
do you know who? Did they specify any other characters?
Nope. Just what we see on the cover.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that they're choosing. Is that part of their diversity? Because that's a whole other thing too. They once again, not only did they say, "Hey, we're changing everything," they once again build the fact that DC is going to be this diverse, world, which I think is really interesting. You make that promise, you got to come through on it, or you're going to have a bunch of. Some of the, people I pay attention to online and whatnot, are really big into the whole diversity thing.
Yeah.
More females, significant females, not just there, but them playing a real role and not just being victims. More people of color, more people of different, sexualities and whatnot. Should be in comics, and I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Sure.
But when you make that part of your mission statement, you're going to get called on it if you don't follow through.
Right, and you
So
can't.
is that why Cyborg's in there?
But see, that's the problem. You can't just throw a token character on there and say you're more diverse. So they got to do something more than just throw Cyborg in.
Obviously, he's going to have some. I've only read Flashpoint #1 so far, but obviously, have you read that yet?
No, it's coming this week.
Well, obviously, anyway, he has a role in that. He has a role in that, and so I can see if these people have some sense of themselves by the time the whole Flashpoint thing is done, that he plays a bigger role because he plays a big role in the current event book.
Right.
So it could make sense. We'll see how Flashpoint goes. Could make perfect sense for him to be there. Well, you look at the picture of the people who are on there. There's nobody on there that's tech oriented in any fashion, really. Well, I guess depending on which Flash that is, he's a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's a forensic scientist, so that's a little different.
Okay, so it makes sense for him to be there. He has a role.
Sure.
He has a role on that team. But you are right. If they go for diversity and they just throw in anybody, or if their version of diversity is they have a few aliens on there, people don't accept that as being diversity.
Well, hey, just look at these the 7 images they got here. You have an Atlantean. You have Themysciran, Kryptonian. The only human characters are Hal, Batman, and Green Lantern, Batman, and Flash, and of course Cyborg. But yeah, you're right.
But it looks very white, though.
Yeah, it's a very white team. But it's interesting, that whole you bring up the diversity thing. It was an interesting contemplation to kind of figure out what they meant by that. Was it just diversity in titles? Was it diversity of characters in the titles? And now we're I think we're starting to see that they were referring to both.
Right.
A little bit because that recent news, today's news from Bleeding Cool about the Teen Titans.
The potential makeup of that team.
Yeah, potential. Yeah, again, we don't know for sure, but.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. They need to me they need to have more than just Cyborg on there if they want to go for the whole diversity thing. Of course, the problem is that they have 75 years of comics history where the majority of their characters are white.
Right. And that's one of the things that always bugs me about the whole argument over the diversity thing, and they need to be working hard, they need to be putting more in, whatnot. You're right. When they introduce new characters and whatnot, you'd hope to shout that they would invest more in some of those things to add a little more character to the universe. But unfortunately, there is 75 years worth of Superman being a white guy. You can't change that.
Mm-hmm.
You can change some of the people around him and whatnot. And it's unfortunate that when they decide to, do some of the Green Lantern and stuff, and they go to pick a Green Lantern, they pick Hal over John Stewart, when arguably, people who are half our age, that Stewart's the Green Lantern they know.
That's true.
My son, he'll turn 13 next week. His Green Lantern, his first Green Lantern, is Stewart. He was the guy that was on the cartoon. He was Green Lantern. He doesn't know who Hal Jordan is from whatever. Just what little bit I've told him about it, and what few comics he happens to show up in that I'm collecting now that that he reads.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting but that's the whole rolling back to the Silver Age, right?
Yes. And
so that causes a problem with the whole diversity thing. How do you introduce a new character and have those new characters be diverse? Because man, it's hard to break into the DC universe as a new character, is it not?
Well, I think it's hard for any publisher. It's not just DC.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Obviously they've tried. I think most recently and most successfully, and I put successfully in quotes here, with Blue Beetle. But obviously that we don't have a Blue Beetle title.
Well, I'd be curious to see if that's one of the titles that comes out.
Yeah.
And if they wisely reboot that, or he's a Titan at minimum.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I agree. That character should have his own title.
That would be one of their non-white characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it'd be really interesting to see what they do with this whole diversity thing, because what characters do they have in place that they could do this with? And I'm sure there are a bunch of them. I just can't think of any major character.
Mr. Terrific.
Okay. Which is one of the 10 that they announced.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold on a second. Let me look at my list here.
We can start back. Do you want to talk more about Justice League?
Well,
Are you getting it?
Yes, I will, because I like Johns' work, and I actually do like Jim Lee's work.
Yep.
But this image that they gave us of these 7 characters, man, I like Lee's work, but I don't like his role as the
stylist.
The stylist for DC characters.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the Wonder Woman change, even though it was kind of a throwback to the 90s when she actually wore a similar costume.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if you look at that image, and you heard me, or I think you read the stuff that I posted about this, but the whole collar thing, all the characters, except for the ones that have masks that kind of cover their head and neck, they have those collars. Even Wonder Woman she has this choker thing that is essentially a collar.
I don't like chokers on Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that is awful. That is awful.
For me, that goes back to her potential of her prior history and.
Yeah, and I don't care that she wears pants. I really don't. I don't care if she wears a shirt. I don't care that she doesn't wear the shorts and the what do you call that thing? The bustier? I don't know what they call that. The girdle or whatever it is that she wears traditionally. I don't care that.
There are lots of girls who think it's fine, other than it doesn't have straps. So how do you fight in that thing without?
Exactly. Yeah, it needs to be better. But
it's a comic book.
Yeah, I know. But then you got the Flash and Cyborg in this picture, and they've all got these chin things going on. I'm like, what? Why?
I kind of like Flash's mask.
What?
This Flash's mask, and I'm not a Flash fan. So does Flash's mask? Is it always had on the across the cheekbones where it's got that kind of
slit?
Yeah.
To some degree. Mm-hmm.
It does.
It's a little different in this one.
I guess I've never noticed it. It looks interesting. You're right, but everything having their chin covered up,
that does for a speedster. That makes no sense to me.
Well, the whole costume doesn't make sense then, if that's the case. It doesn't. He obviously doesn't have drag or those little ear things that he wears.
Well, yeah.
Would be peeling off his head too.
You're right.
They didn't give Batman one.
Thank God.
Chin.
That's
because he has a strong chin. See.
Oh, is that what you think it is?
Is that Barry Allen? Is that who that is? The Flash?
I'm sure it is.
Okay. Yeah, he just doesn't have a strong enough chin. See, if he had a manly chin like Batman or Aquaman. I don't know.
Yeah. But then Cyborg, it's like
I don't mind these costumes at all, other than it just seems kind of funny that anyone who doesn't have a costume that covers up over their head, they all are sporting the same color. That cracks me up.
That's just stupid.
The Superman costume, fine, whatever.
Yeah. It looks like they got rid of his red shorts. Did you notice that?
They're gone. He is not wearing underwear on the outside of his costume anymore.
Yeah. I don't know that I like.
I guess it has actually. From rumor has it that it actually has seams and stuff like that.
Oh yes, I heard about that.
But actually, it looks like he's wearing clothing, as opposed to having his costume painted on quite as much and wearing it.
It sounds like to me that they're going more for the Superman Earth 1 look.
Yeah.
From that graphic novel.
Yeah. Which there's no surprise there.
Yeah. Okay, so did you have anything about Justice League to say? Any more about that?
Well, I just think it's interesting that they put these creators on this title.
Well, they had to.
Why?
I think they had to.
Why?
Well, Johns is...
Because it's the flagship?
Yeah.
So if you think if they put their top talent, both of their top talent guys, and you got to consider both of them top talent guys,
right?
On the same title together, because it's the flagship comic, and you hope everyone's going to read it, and you're going to be excited about that, and then you're going to turn around and read the other titles that branch off from it because it's the flagship title. Is that the idea behind it?
Well, I would agree with that statement. Sure.
Okay, so then the question is, how do some of these other titles that have been officially announced compete with that? Because there's no way any of us, no one I know, is going to actually have the money to be able to pick up all of these titles.
Right.
To pick all of the number ones, all of the number twos, and potentially all of the number threes to get an honest opinion of whether or not it's a title you think you want to collect or not. Right? I mean, to be serious about whether or not, if you really want to be open-minded and look at all these titles and go, this may be a new experience for me, and it may be something I want to read. Because this is all new. So the sky's the limit. What do I want to read of this? There's no way I can read all of these. How does I don't mean to keep picking on Mr. Terrific, but let's just go with Mr. Terrific because he's never had a title of his own.
Yeah.
How does he compete with that? How does he compete with these big name people? Shouldn't they have put some heavy hitter on like that on there? Everyone's gonna get Justice League just about, aren't they?
Sure.
I mean, because just about everybody I know to some degree that if they're rebooting everything, that's a title everybody's gonna be interested in. Whereas, like I said, I'm curious to see what other titles they announce, but I don't know how, especially out of all these official titles that are announced here, Mr. Terrific has the least amount of support out of all of them.
Yeah.
Because, he's a character of like 20 that's in the Justice Society right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's not like the Justice League International where they're coming off this very popular miniseries that was out. He's not like the Flash or Aquaman or Wonder Woman, who obviously everybody knows who they are. Name recognition alone is going to sell a certain amount of their comics.
Right.
I just wonder, wouldn't you have put, and the guys that are on that comic, to the best of my knowledge, aren't really big people. I mean, the writer, I think the current thing he's writing is, the Titans, the villain title, that he's going to carry a bunch of people with him when he starts to write that comic. So part of me says it makes sense that you put these big name people on the flagship book, but part of me also wonders, why don't you have some huge heavy hitter sitting on these little things? If you really honestly want these new diverse titles to make it, don't you got to put somebody on there that everybody rushes to? Not because they go, Mr. Terrific, I don't know who that is, so therefore I'm going to spend my money there. It's going to be Mr. Terrific. I don't know who that is, but wow, Grant Morrison's writing Mr. Terrific. And we know Grant Morrison does some great stuff, so we're going to pick it up.
Yep, you are absolutely correct.
I think, obviously it hasn't been listed here, but many places have said that Grant Morrison is doing Superman. Why? Is it because Superman's that boring? They got to put Grant on?
Well, I think that has more to do with the All-Star Superman title from a few years ago and how successful that was for DC. So, and I think Grant Morrison.
So we really are just repeating ourselves.
What?
So we are just really repeating ourselves. Put him on a character he hasn't done before.
Well, but.
Yeah, whatever.
I think he wants to do that character.
But you see what I'm saying? I just
want
to see how. I'm really curious to see what they're doing. Some of these other titles that come out and because now they're competing with each other because there's 52 number ones all coming out at the same time. Nobody has the money generally to buy all of those, so they are competing with each other. They're not competing with Marvel. They're competing with each other.
Uh-huh.
These characters and these creators are all competing with each other.
This is why I think that they should have possibly rolled out some of this stuff. Yeah, staggered it, exactly. Yeah. So you come out with your big titles, your Superman, your Batman, your Wonder Woman, your Justice League.
2 months, then a couple months later, 10 more, months, 10 more.
Yes, exactly. But
then you can't relaunch the entire universe all at once doing that, though.
Yeah, I don't think that was...
Unless you're only going to sell 10 books.
That's the problem. They can't just sell 10 books. They have to have so many. I'm sure they've done the math.
Right.
And
so that's why. Otherwise it would be like Last Crisis. You'd have, some titles in the new world, in the new way things are, and some titles, if you're still having them around, a mix up. Like I said, it's just one of those things I keep thinking about. Is it's real curious. I mean, it's going to be a huge comic. I'm definitely getting it. I generally pick up the Justice League because it feels to me like it should be the flagship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll definitely be getting it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm a huge John's fan. He's fine. I don't read much of his stuff.
Yeah.
I started picking up Justice Society again right about the time he got off the title.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the Titans, Teen Titans. I got on those things about the time he was leaving most of that stuff. And I haven't been reading the event books. Flashpoint's the first event book I've gotten since Final Crisis, basically. So I don't know that I'm a huge fan of his one. I like Jim Lee fine. You're right, though. I'm not really excited about him being a designer.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I like his art, but his ideas for redesigns of the characters, not so much.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess I don't have anything else to say about Justice League. That's a curious thing for me, though, as to how that whole sales thing work and with competing with each other and whatnot.
Yeah. All right, so let's run down the rest of these 10, and then say what you want about it, whether you're going to get it or not, or anything else you want to throw out there. But
sure.
Let's see. Start with Wonder Woman.
I'm getting it.
Okay.
I'm going to get it because, well, first, I love the artist. I think he does a great job
Cliff Chang.
on these kind of characters and whatnot.
See, now I'm looking at this the image, and I presume this is the cover image for Wonder Woman #1.
It's the one with her banging arrows off her waist.
Yeah, jumping through. Yeah,
Arrows.
I have to say, I'm not that impressed with that image. I mean, it's okay, but it's all right.
So, what don't you like about the image? You don't just like the idea of her jumping through a hail of arrows?
Oh, no. I mean, the design is fine. It's the I think it most this may be the inker, not necessarily Mr. Chang's art, but I just don't like the way Wonder Woman looks.
That thick line.
The thick line and
that's his style.
That's
his style, yeah. For all the Green Arrow and Green Arrow Black Canary and all the other stuff that I have that's that way, it's kind of his style. I see a lot of other stuff that I like a lot better than this.
Okay.
But I like the feel of this image.
Oh yeah.
So, but the question is, and then we look at the writer.
Azzarello.
Interesting pick for you got this guy who's known for seedy kind of noir crime novel kind of things, right?
Yeah, doing Wonder Woman.
And he's doing Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So interesting. And that's what I mean. I like Wonder Woman anyway. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I like Wonder Woman. I'd probably be picking up, unless somebody was on it that I absolutely hate, I'd probably get in to start out with just to see what it's going to be like. So I'm curious to see what his take's going to be on this, how he's going to portray her. I mean, obviously, looking at this cover image, it looks like they're going to portray her as being a badass.
Mm-hmm. A warrior.
Some people aren't excited by that, though. I think you got to, I mean, I subscribe to that you got to have both aspects.
Yes.
She needs to be a badass when she needs to be a badass, but she also, I like the diplomat. Wonder Woman also.
The warrior for peace.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I encapsulate her. She's the warrior for peace.
So like I said, I'm real curious to see what this guy, like I said, who's known for this kind of, gritty, because I don't ever see Wonder Woman as being that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't strike me as being ever being a street level.
Well, she's not Batman.
Right.
And she shouldn't be.
Or any of that kind of thing. I mean, she's just not that kind of, that street level kind of a person. So I'll be really curious.
Okay. As am I. I'm going to get it. I'm like I said, I'm not too excited about Cliff Chang being on the art, but I'm not that familiar with his work, so I'm sure it will grow on me, as many artists have done over the years. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I love Wonder Woman. So I'll be getting that. So let's talk about Aquaman.
Yawn.
I know.
No interest in Aquaman.
Oh, see.
I know. Now I didn't read Brightest Day, so maybe I'd be more excited by that. But I like him in a team. He's like Superman for me. I like him in a team. He's interesting in a team with other people and whatnot. But I can't envision a comic of just him.
Yeah.
Especially if it's going to be him under the water.
Yeah, but
how much is there? There's X number of cities, unless they populate the ocean a whole heck of a lot more. There's only so many cities and so many people you can interact with under the water.
Okay.
Yes? No?
Sure, but I think it just matters on what kind of a focus you want to have on the character as opposed to the setting he's in.
Yeah.
So,
but the setting is part of it.
Well, yeah, but just like Metropolis is the setting for Superman to a large degree.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I guess I don't put a lot of stock in that because I have faith in. Again, this is by Jeff Johns. He's writing it, and Ivan Rice is on the art. So to me, I like Rice's work. He did a portion of Brightest Day,
uh-huh.
And like you said, you didn't read it, but I read Brightest Day and loved that series, and it got me loving Aquaman again, which I never really did. Aquaman, like he's okay in the team and all that, and he sometimes has these really great character moments when he's on the Justice League team.
Right.
But mostly, I've never gotten any of the Aquaman series. I got that one special when he had that one watery looking suit from the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. Yeah.
Right. Late 80s.
I think I have that, and that's about it. But I got really excited for this title after reading Brightest Day, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it actually turns out.
So you are getting that?
Oh yeah, I'll be trying that out. just because of the two guys that are on it.
Sure. And sometimes that's all it takes as a creator. I hear you.
Yeah, Ivan Rice's work. Him and Ethan Van Sciver, I think, are two of the newer talents that DC has. I love their work. So, next is Flash by Brian. I'm gonna get this wrong. Bucciato. Bucciato. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Brian. And Francis Manapul. Flash #1. What do you think?
Well, whatever. I'm not a Flash fan. I don't have much interest in Flash now. I may read Flashpoint and decide, this is one of those characters that he interests me a little bit, but not enough to read a title by him.
Yeah.
But I've never been interested in speedsters. It's just one of those things that doesn't excite.
Well, I read Flash coming out of Crisis with Wally as Flash, right? And that was pretty good. In fact, over the years, it became very good. I stopped reading it after the first 2 years or so. But as it went on with again, Jeff Johns had a run on it. Mark Waid had a celebrated run on it.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was really, really good. And then they messed things up in more recent years. But then I got Flash Rebirth.
Right.
Because Johns was writing it, and I was interested to see what they were doing with that. I think Ethan Van Sciver was in the art on that again too. But then they announced the new Flash ongoing with Johns and Manapul on the art, and I don't like Manapul, so that's not a. And so right now, plus I'm not a big Barry Allen fan. I actually came to love Wally West as Flash. And and he was in the Justice League cartoon as well, and so to me, this is one of those examples where it's like the sidekick, takes on the role of the original hero, and he does an excellent job at it. I don't want to see Barry Allen. I don't care about Barry Allen.
Too bad.
I know. Here he is, and the whole from Flash Rebirth onto his own series, which I got the first six issues of, and I was done. I'm getting Flashpoint just because it's an event book. If that was just part of the Flash story, no way. I would not be
guaranteed. I wouldn't be getting it.
Yeah. So I have no interest in this whatsoever.
Yeah.
Next week.
Hey, it's one of your favorite subjects. It's a artist turned writer. Because Manapul's writing it too.
Oh, is he?
He's sharing writing duties. With Brian.
Oh, okay. That'll be interesting.
Well, it says right here. It says sharing both scripting and art duties with Brian. Does that mean the two of them are drawing it? And is he the inker or something?
I don't know. Well, it's kind of like the New Teen Titans back in the 80s, right? Because Marv and George became co-plotters.
Right. Co-plotters.
And George was doing the art, I guess. Yeah. So
that makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think it does.
Sure.
I'm just not. I don't know Manapul's writing. And like I said, I don't care for his art. So
sure. Not
for me.
Yep.
Okay, so we have The Fury of Firestorm with Ethan Van Sciver and Gail Simone writing it. Sciver writing it with Gail Simone and artist Yildiray Sinar, who was on Legion? Is on Legion?
Yes.
Right
yes.
Now? Yeah.
And also did the backstories in the Titans Ravager.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting this. No doubt about it. Well, first and foremost, I'll get it because it's something that Gail's doing, and I'll pick up about anything of hers and give it a try.
Yeah.
I love Firestorm. I've collected Firestorm a number of times over the years. It was the one thing that almost had me get Brian to stay was the fact that when I found out that Firestorm was going to be in it. I'll be curious to see how they change these characters because they obviously are giving them a different approach by putting them back in high school.
The two of them, yeah.
Right. Jason and Ronnie.
Yes, exactly.
So that'll be interesting. I don't, like I said, I don't know what they've done with the character. I don't know how much this changes the character. I don't know what they were like in Brightest Day. I liked Jason as Firestorm during that run. I got that whole run. Had a heck of a time with that.
Right. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm almost always sold on anything by Gail. To start out with, I'll give it a shot unless it goes off someplace that I'm really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I love the artist. I don't know that I was super excited with the Legion title that he's been on.
No.
But I just haven't been excited by that in general. I really liked his work on the Ravager backups and the stuff that he does just at his own personal warm-up practice stuff that he posts on Twitter all the time and whatnot. Just awesome stuff. So I'm excited for this comic on a number of levels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really know Van Schreiber that much, but of course this is another artist, right, who's going to take a shot at writing. So.
Yeah.
But I was curious, like yesterday or the day before yesterday, Gail said that she doesn't co-write anything. So I'm real curious to see how their writing duties work in that. How that's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
She says she's too much of a control freak. So I'm not sure exactly how that's working.
That does not surprise me.
And I'm curious if this is the thing, because Gail, for a year plus, has been talking about how she's got some secret thing that she's doing with him. And I'm wondering if this is it or something else out there.
I bet you this is it.
Well, then that says that they had planned a Firestorm comic book of some sort or another for quite some time.
Well, maybe not. Maybe you're right. Because there was some news that I just read today about I can't remember his name now, and I closed that article because I didn't think we were going to talk about it. But the person that was initially, or he talked about it. I don't know if he was the writer or the artist now. Sorry, but he was the one that was going to do the new Firestorm book.
Oh, all right, the guy who does Atomic Robot.
Yeah, him.
Well, yeah, that's that. Well, we want to get into rumor talking. There's a whole other can of worms around some of the creators who thought they were doing something and now suddenly aren't doing something.
Right.
That's all kind of interesting. I'm just curious as to what kind of bridges have been burned.
Exactly, because apparently DC asked various people to pitch for various books, and
after they already had somebody else working on it.
Perhaps, yeah, or the person that pitched it, they were led to believe,
or that it was theirs.
That it was theirs, or they were told to some degree. Yeah, it's all speculation at this point.
Yeah.
But apparently Gail Simone tweeted to that person whose name I do not know.
I remember his name offhand.
Yeah.
Oops, you were the person. I saw that. Oops, you were the person that was on it. Man, you would have been good. Sorry.
Yep, exactly. And then she was like, "Everybody read Atomic Robot."
Right. Which is a fun comic.
So yeah, that'd be unfortunate if the way that DC editorial did this does burn some bridges there, because that would be a crappy thing to do.
Oh, yeah, like I said, I don't know how that really all is playing out, but because there are other creators that supposedly at one point Brian Wood was going to be on Supergirl.
Oh right. Mm-hmm.
And now supposedly he's not. Yep. Of course, we haven't seen anything official anywhere, but he tweeted a picture of his daughter wearing a pink Supergirl shirt. She's, of course, it's adult size, so she's wearing it as a dress because his daughter's not very big. And he made the comment, "Do I have to give the shirt back now?" And that's the thing I've seen him ever say about that he was going to write it or that he wasn't going to write it or whatever.
Oh, see, that sounds like...
And then I didn't see the original tweet from Jason Aaron from Marvel and Vertigo, but he said something to Brian, I guess, but Brian's reply back to him was something along the lines of, "That's okay. Wait until you see my next creator-owned book." So I don't know.
Okay.
So I don't know how that all works out. Hopefully there's nobody was thrown under a bus somewhere. But,
yeah. It sounds like there's some hurt feelings at the very least there.
Well, that's the internet for you too. When we can follow all these people and whatnot, which you couldn't do a long time ago, and it gives us a lot more information.
Yeah.
Maybe than what we should even have.
That's probably true. Sometimes you don't want to see how things are being made in the kitchen, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm curious, but at the same time, I don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't want, I don't want to end up wrecking a comic for me, knowing that somebody got screwed out of something, even though I might like the comic.
Yeah.
I don't want that to become part of what I'm reading into whatever I'm reading. So.
Yeah. So back to Firestorm though. I agree. I'm going to get that one too. I'm going to try it out at least mostly because again, A Brightest Day is. But I know things are changed, but I got interested in the character again, especially the pairing of Jason and Ronnie together. So I like that what they were doing with them in Brightest Day. So I'm curious what they're going to do here in this new title. And I've always liked Firestorm in general.
Yeah.
I got the title back in the the early 80s when it was out.
Right.
So
Right.
next we've got The Savage Hawkman by Tony Daniel and Philip Tan.
Yeah. No interest in that either.
Really?
Because I don't have an interest in the character.
See, Hawkman has always been one of those characters that I love, even though I don't know why I do. I just like the idea of Hawkman.
Uh-huh.
And
like I said, he's okay on a team. He amuses me on a team, but with all of his rage and whatnot,
yeah, if the writer isn't up to it, and that's where they go is like, well, he's just the angry fighter guy.
Right.
You know, that's not interesting.
Yeah.
But the run that, again, Jeff Johns did this back when this is a few years ago now, when he had his title before. I got the first 3 trades of that. Yeah. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. You know, it wasn't there was the part where he was the savage guy kind of guy, but there was a lot more character development in there. So, you know, he became a really interesting character who you know, his super heroic identity is really lame. You know, he flies because he has this contraption and he has a bunch of old weapons. But he's badass, man.
Right.
You know, when he has that mace and he's hitting people, I love it.
That's just being angry and smashing things.
I know,
which is cool, but I don't have an interest in it.
Yeah.
And the creators that are on it, Tony Daniel, I've enjoyed his Batman that he's been doing, but I enjoy him being both the writer and the artist on it.
That's too bad they're not doing that.
And Philip Tan, man, does some incredible work on like a single page or like a cover or that sort of thing. I was never very excited by his work in The Outsiders, or maybe it was that his work wasn't so super stellar that it drowned out just how bad Dan DiDio's writing was. I don't know which it was. So, you know, like I said, I don't have an interest in that title, and the creators that are on it aren't a big enough draw for me at this point. For me,
yeah, I agree. The Philip Tan art, especially, I've never been a big fan of his. So, and this cover image just really does nothing for me. There's not. I mean, he does feathers nice on the cover.
Yeah.
You know, I like that, but otherwise, yeah. I'll probably get number 1 just to see because I like Hawkman, but I don't see me continuing to get that title at all.
Uh-huh.
All right, here's one of your favorites, Green Arrow.
Yep.
By J.T. Kroll and Dan Jurgens.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this. The current run of Green Arrow's been really hit and miss for me, mostly due to the frustration because so much of it's been tied up in, you know, quasi brightest day stuff. It just doesn't feel like it's taken Ollie way too long, you know, to get out of his own self-wallowing in that crazy forest to actually go about being a hero. So I'm hoping with this relaunch that we can get him back into actually, I don't know, fighting crime and that sort of thing. I think J.T. Kroll understands the character well enough to write him well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy with Dan Jurgens' artwork. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. Curious to see if the cover is Brett Booth and not, you know, Dan, but whatever.
That's what it is, right? Because the cover's done by Booth, but Jurgens is actually doing the art on.
He's actually doing the art, the interior art.
Okay, doesn't that seem like a weird combination to you?
Why?
Or not combination, but Jurgens doing Green Arrow. I mean, he's never been really associated with that character, right?
But I thought that's one part of the things what they were going to do is change up some of this stuff.
Well, yeah, true. I don't know. I guess
we'll see it. To me, it doesn't strike me as weird.
Okay.
But I mean, actually, coupled with the next title you're going to talk about, seems interesting to me. I would think that because in the next title, Justice League International, he's the writer.
Uh-huh.
Dan Jurgens is.
Uh-huh.
So why wouldn't he just write and draw one title, as opposed to having art duties on one title and then writing on another title?
Mm-hmm.
Seems interesting and strange to me.
Yeah.
I think you just have him do all of one.
Yeah, I agree.
Or maybe that they have him doing the team book because it's got Booster in it, and most people feel like he's the best one of the better booster riders, but because it's a team book and it has so many more people to draw, he can't keep up with a team book, because I'm sure it's got to be harder to keep up with when you have to draw multiple characters all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they wanted to give him something else to do, so they gave him something else to draw. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting. I mean, from that perspective, it's interesting. But
well, see, that's why I think I was where I was going with this, because with his popularity with the Booster Gold title and his association with that more recently, it makes kind of sense that he's doing this JLI title.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm curious to see if Booster Gold ends up with his own title
as well.
Yeah. I have no idea what the sales are like and whatnot for that, but
I doubt it. But who knows?
Because they can have him here and he can fulfill his role in this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Dan Jurgens being on JLI with Booster Gold in there, it seems to make a certain amount of sense. But yeah, I saw the Green Arrow. I'm like, I don't get that. But it's not like I don't like Jan. It's not that I do not like Dan Jurgens' art. I like him.
Why they make the editorial decision to put him there?
Maybe he petitioned for it. Maybe Green Arrow is a character he's always wanted to do and he's just never been allowed to until now.
There you go.
It'd be nice to find that out, won't it?
Yep.
All right, since we already talked about JLI, let's go there next. We got Dan Jurgens and Aaron Lepresti.
Yep, I'll be getting that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm torn about this one.
I'm still kicking myself that I didn't pick up the Max series when it was out, because it sounds like it was a real hoop by the time it was said and done.
The Generation Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna pick that back up in trades.
Yeah, I was planning on that definitely.
I guess let me put it this way. I'm curious. I will be getting this because I'm curious about it. Well, I like Aaron's artwork. I've always thought Dan was fine. I don't know who all of these people are that are on this cover.
I was going to ask. So we have Batman, a Batman. I don't know if that's
it looks
Bruce
like he's wearing the same costume. So.
It does. So he's going to be on both teams.
Well, I don't know. If you go by the rumor mill thing, if Dick's going back to being Nightwing, well, who's the other Batman then?
Or is there going to be another Batman?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So sure, he could easily be on both teams. Batman's in a lot of places.
I know, but it's just one of those weird things. Like, why would Batman do that? But
my assumption would also be is that you're not going to have, just like with the Justice League, you're not going to have all of these characters in the same place all the time, are you?
I would hope not.
So anyway, so Batman. Notice Mr. Gold's got a new costume, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which looks fine, sure. You have Rocket Red in the background there.
That's
Fire.
Okay.
Fire and Ice. You gotta have those and Guy Gardner.
Right.
Because that was part of the original JLI stuff.
Uh-huh.
What's her name? Mary
Vixen.
Thank you.
Yep. They got a new costume for her. She doesn't have the plunging neckline.
Oh, good. Yeah. I like that costume design so far, what I can see of it.
Uh-huh.
And then you got these other two in the corners here. The one in the top right, I have no idea who that is. Do you? The scaly
creature from the Black Lagoon with the pitchfork?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who that is.
Who the heck?
Yeah.
And then the bottom left, that looks like Donna Troy, doesn't it?
Is it Donna Troy? Or is it somebody's less Asian version of Cassandra Cain?
Oh. Hadn't considered that.
Or as somebody said, hey, it looks like she's wearing Jubilee's costume from Marvel.
Is it really?
It does look a lot like
all I remember
Well, if it's Donna Troy, I'm happy that she's not wearing that huge plunging neckline thing, but I kind of like the stars.
I do too, but this costume is fine. If that is indeed Donna Troy,
I don't know. If it's Donna Troy, seems like a strange pose for Donna Troy.
Yeah.
How often does Donna Troy go? How many pictures have you ever seen of her?
No.
Kicking like that. That's like a martial art kind of thing. She would be flying and punching your face, right? That's Donna Troy, isn't it?
Could this be Black Canary?
Oh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Without the blonde?
I'd be okay with that.
I mean, black costume, with yellow.
Sure.
Like you say, the martial arts kind of pose.
But I can't imagine. She's been a blonde for so long now. I can't imagine that I go back to being that.
Yeah, that would seem ridiculous.
That totally would take away her character recognition whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I doubt that's Black Canary. But when I first saw this image, I thought that's Donna, but I don't really understand what they're doing with her here. But we'll see.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm curious about. Who is that? I mean, I can't find anybody else who will commit to who they think that is. So.
Yeah. But I'll probably pick up this issue at least just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Now that I'm talking through these, I'm picking up more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, see, you're picking up every one so far. Oh, you're not picking up the Flash.
No. Or Green Arrow. I won't pick that one up either.
Loser.
You could just tell me how good it is.
You're right. I will. I like the new costume.
The Green Arrow.
Green Arrow.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not sure why he's shooting a compound bow. Real men shoot long bows.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It makes sense from a mechanical and physics standpoint.
Yes.
To shoot a compound bow. Yeah.
Yes, it does. I like it too. It looks really cool.
And he has a trick arrow. He's shooting a trick arrow.
Does he not shoot trick arrows right now in the current?
He does not.
Okay.
He shoots sharp, pointy sticks, a la longbow Mike Grell.
Oh, so we're back to that, huh?
Well, yeah, that's always been one of the things. He hasn't been so hardcore because he hasn't really dealt with any just general riffraff. He's too busy playing in the trees.
Oh, I see.
So it's not like he shot up too many people, Hasn't stuck too many arrows through people's pant legs and earlobes and whatever else. So.
Okay. We already talked about Mr. Terrific. Is there anything else you want to?
I don't know if I should be getting that comic book or not.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
I'm somewhat interested. It could be an interesting comic. The character's an interesting character. Him carrying his own. I don't know. I don't know. Uses his brains and fists against science gone mad. Well, that sounds kind of interesting. That's kind of up my line, but I don't know because I don't. Do you see what I'm saying? It's one of those ones I'd like to give a shot to, but I only got so much money.
Right.
So I'm kind of right now. I'm waiting. It's one of those wait and see what else comes out. If they get rid of a bunch of the titles that I'm currently reading, and this might be one of the ones that replaces that. I just need to wait and see what else is coming out, I guess, before I'm. It's not a yes for sure I'm getting it, but I'm curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. See, I've never been that big of a Mr. Terrific fan. Even when I read JSA. He's an okay character. I don't mind him. Right. But I think again this goes more towards, hey, we need more diversity. So sure. Who do we have? Oh, we have Mr. Terrific, and he's a somewhat popular character in JSA. Let's give him his own title. Right,
and he was like the leader for a while there, like when they had the JSA versus Cobra and stuff like that, I believe. And Checkmate, wasn't he part of Checkmate?
Oh, I think so.
See, those are books I want to pick up at some point. I just haven't gotten around picking them up and trade.
Oh, you mean after the whole year 1 year later thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he plays a pretty significant role in that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the character has potential to be interesting, whatnot. So it just depends on what they do with him. But like I said, for me, it's kind of a wait and see. But I still think I still think it's almost a throwaway character. Oh, look, diversity. Oh, he didn't make it. See, diverse characters don't make it in the universe. Well, that's because they didn't back him with anybody of significance. I mean, okay, I know that Eric Wallace writes Titans. I'm not familiar with anything else he's written. And Roger Robinson, what's he do?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't either. Not that I know who everybody is, obviously, but that doesn't ring any kind of a bell. Who's doing the artwork for Batman Beyond?
I have no idea.
Is he doing the artwork for that? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Obviously, we're not big fans.
No.
Like I said, for me, it's going to come down to what else is out there.
Yeah.
It has enough interest to me that I'll pick it up if, say, 3 or 4 more of the titles that I have all disappear and nothing replaces it that interests me. So.
Yeah. I hope it succeeds. Just because I'd like to see the more diverse titles and characters, right? Uh-huh. But this is just not a character that interests me.
Yeah.
Now, if they would have made a Cyborg series, I'd probably pick it up.
Yeah. But
not Mr. Terrific. Sorry, Mr. T.
Jeez.
J.T. Kroll and Freddie Williams II on Captain Atom #1.
I won't be getting that.
No. Again, another character is like, I have no interest in this character whatsoever.
Well, he's somewhat interesting. I've picked up series that he's had in the past and whatnot. I'm glad to get away from Freddie Williams II.
Yeah.
When they canceled JSA All Stars, that was one of my biggest beefs with that comic. I've just never really been a fan of his art in that. Everybody's got way too squared off and strange looking jaws and whatnot. Just not a fan. Nice guy and all, but I'm just not a fan of his art style. Now I've seen him do other stuff. He does commissions and whatnot that don't look anything like that. So I don't know if it was just the style he chose to work with in JSA All Stars, and that's my only exposure of his. I don't know if he's one of those artists that tries to change up what he's doing when he does a new title and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to get that because of that. And of course, the cover's by somebody else, and so I couldn't look at the cover and go, "Oh yeah, he's using the same style. I want nothing to do with it." But
yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna miss on that one. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yep. Okay. And then finally, we have DC Universe Presents.
Oh yeah, I'll be getting that.
Starting with a Dead Man story by Paul Jenkins and Bernard Chang.
Yeah. I'll be getting that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love anthology books.
Same here.
So, I'll be supporting this one definitely.
The anthology, the kind of odd team up thing. That's why I've always been kind of a fan of like the Brave and the Bold and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're not going to stick with, it'll be a 2 or 3 issue arcs with those creators, and then they'll move on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That means we might get some really interesting stories, and that you have these writers who go, "Hey, I've only got, I want to tell this kind of story with this character." They can pitch that, and there's a place for it. There's a place for them to write all kinds of stuff. So
the problem with that, though, is that historically anthology titles just don't last very long. So I'm afraid we'll get a year, maybe 2 out of this, and they'll cancel it.
Yeah.
Because I don't, it sounds like to me that you and I are the minority in our love for this kind of a format.
Could be, I guess. So we'll enjoy it while it's there, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, definitely. But I just wish, I hope whoever they have, I hope the Dead Man story, first of all, is good enough that it brings people in.
Well, I love that cover.
Oh yeah, the cover looks great.
Well, Ryan Sook, he does awesome stuff.
Yeah, I love. Go ahead.
Would love to see more of his stuff. Of course, he's one of those people who doesn't. Him doing interiors is a struggle.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but that cover, the way that the chains are coming in from off camera, so to speak, that just looks awesome.
Yeah.
But then so obviously that Dead Man story has to be really good to bring people in initially, and then whatever they follow up with, the creative teams really have to bring their A game to keep people coming back.
Sure. Yes and no, but being the type of book it is, you don't have to pick up every issue. If it's a character you're interested in or creators you're interested in, you pick it up. If it's not, you don't, right?
Well, true, but if people aren't picking it up...
But then I guess is that what makes it not succeed?
I think so, in part, at least. I mean, you're not getting the sales month to month.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't get especially at the beginning, if you don't get the sales month to month for at least the first 6 months to a year, the likelihood of that being that continuing is probably not very good. So
yeah, you're probably right. But I guess for me as a consumer, that's one of the reasons why I like it is that I can make a decision. I haven't missed a story. I mean, I missed a story, but I haven't missed some piece of the serialized part of these comics represent. I don't. If I decide I don't want that arc or whatever, it's not that big a deal. Because it's not adding anything to the characters in the same way. Like if I decided I didn't want to pick up 3 or 4 issues of, Green Arrow, something that's pertinent to that character's existence from this point forward may have happened during that time, and I missed it if I didn't pick it up. But usually these anthology kind of things don't. They're not altering the character in such extreme ways.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the only 10 we know about for sure.
Well, 11.
11.
Right.
Well, plus the you want to talk about the Lantern titles?
Yeah, let's do that real quick. Green Lantern Corps, New Guardians, and Red Lanterns. So obviously I will get Green Lantern because Jeff Johns is still writing that, and I think Doug Monkey is doing the art still. But anyway, I've loved what they've been doing on that, so I'll be getting that for sure. But not so much the Corps and the New Guardians. I don't get Green Lantern Corps, and I don't get Green Lantern Emerald Warrior right now. So, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter to me who's on the books. It just all I need is one Green Lantern title. Yeah. But the Red Lanterns title with
Oh,
Peter Milligan writing.
yes.
Oh yeah.
See, I don't collect any Green Lantern. It's just one of those characters and concept that's like, whatever. I'm fine with him being in the teams and stuff. And obviously I've enjoyed in the past, like Hal and Ollie teaming up back in the day when they used to do that and stuff. And, they amuse me, but I'm not a big Guardian fan, but I may have to pick up the Red Lantern just because Milligan's writing it, just to see what he does with a quote unquote closer to a superhero title.
Mm-hmm.
So, and hopefully Ed Bendis is healthy now, so he can actually do the comic book. Because he started out on Birds of Prey, and then he had some health issues that took him off of it. So,
if he can do that on a regular basis, that's gonna be fun to read. Yeah. And actually the Red Lantern bit of Brightest Day and also somewhat in Blackest Night, but also the main Green Lantern title. There's a character called Atrocitus, who is the main Red Lantern, right? And his story is somewhat interesting. He's not just it's kind of like going back to Hawkman, that whole rage thing, and so that's what powers the Red Lanterns is their rage about whatever. They spit out this red plasma that burns through anything, but it's the Red Lantern part of that whole Rainbow Lantern thing that they've been doing has been one of the more interesting bits of it. So I'm looking forward to this. And like we say, with Peter Milligan on it, it's like I got to see what he's going to do with this because he's such a good writer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those, that's the Red Lanterns. That's one of those ones that's on my potential could be list because of who's writing it. Less so about the actual characters there. I think Milligan will make me interested in the character, but it also depends on what else comes out. When they tell us what these other titles, the rest of the 52 titles are going to be, we'll decide for sure exactly what my pocketbook can handle in comparison to what is, what all is out there. So it'll be, I'm curious. I'm really curious to see what comes out when, like I said, and this whole relaunch thing, I live in fear for some of the books.
Mm-hmm.
I live in fear that Secret Six is done. That'll bum me out.
We've not heard anything about that title, have we?
Nope. And getting Gale is just incredibly tight-lipped. I mean, she won't even say, sorry, I can't tell you. She's just not there. Which is smart of her. Right? Yes. I mean, that keeps you from accidentally saying something you're not supposed to.
Right.
But part of me wonders now is, maybe that's why they're playing the whole get out of hell free card. That. I know she's always intended on writing the second part to that whole thing. Now that you've got the card, what are you going to do with it?
Oh, but maybe not now.
And there's going to be this big change with Bane because, of course, Bane's going to be in the next movie. So they need to move the Bane character back to being.
Oh, jeez.
Back to being the not try to be a good. I mean, as much as he can be a good, righteous person, and when this is all said and done, he'll be judged on his deeds and he'll come out okay at the end. Mm-hmm. Now he's been to hell. You get the impression now that he's been there. It's like, well, screw it. I'm going here anyway. I've had completely the wrong perspective on all of this. This is how I'm going to go back to being. He's going to go back to being that driven, let's destroy these people kind of a thing, as opposed to, this is my family and I'm just going to go with them and we're going to work whatever jobs we can. And I have certain principles I'm not going to break.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Because I've really enjoyed Bane, especially in the Secret Six issues that I've read.
Sure. I just wonder. I don't know for sure if that's what it is, but part of me wonders. I know that character is moving that direction. Because where he doesn't have to be obviously exactly like the movie, because the movie and the comic books are two different things.
Right.
But I think he's going to be moving toward he's going to be go back to being a significant player. Because he was a significant player. I mean, he really, obviously he broke the bat. He was a significant player, and then he kind of became this, grade B, whatever, and now they're going to move him back to being more along the lines of that significant player. They kind of hinted at that. No, that was one of the things that kind of surprised me out of all the news that came out of Emerald City Comic Con that nobody talked about. What the fact is that Harris said there that Bane was going to go back to being a more significant player. He did say that. Nobody reported on it. I was kind of surprised. And of course,
I think you're right, though.
I was being a bum at the time and never got around to writing my own report on Emerald City Comic Con, so I didn't mention it either. So it makes me wonder. They told Gail, okay, at this point, this is done. So now she's going to squeeze out the stuff she really wanted to say beforehand, and I think that'll be really unfortunate because, like I said, it's one of my favorite comic books.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that the rumor has it that Barbara Gordon is going to go back to being Batgirl. That sucks.
Right.
I like the character Barbara Gordon. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they choose to suddenly make her walk again, which at this point I think is not a good thing to do. I think it's healthy to have her being a diverse character by being stuck in a wheelchair. But beyond that, I think it's silly for her to go back to being Batgirl unless they're going to de-age her a whole bunch too.
Well, if they're doing it with the
others,
others,
she's an adult woman and should not be running around being called Batgirl anymore. That's just part of my opinion. This seems silly to me in a lot of ways. Plus, the fact is that if they want comics to appeal to a younger, newer crowd, it's crazy to have them to pull, Brian Miller off of that comic.
I agree.
And
I can't imagine what they're thinking, and especially in terms with the Batgirl comic with Brian Miller on here. It's been such a fun comic.
The only problem with that comic is who is Batgirl, why is she Batgirl, and all that stuff is all tied into a lot of old trappings that it sounds to me like they're gonna, that aren't going to be part of the relaunch. That's what makes that a mess.
Yep, yeah, you're right, but it's really unfortunate that they're going in that route, I think. And this from a guy who, remember when they were soliciting this new Batgirl title, and they were giving us teaser images of who's wearing the costume and stuff. And at one point I thought, it'd be kind of cool if actually Barbara Gordon came back as Batgirl.
Right.
And then I finally read the comic, and it's like, oh my God, this is exactly the kind of comic, the kind of Batgirl comic they should do. Yeah. We don't need to go back to the past and bring in the old character who used to be this person. What Brian Q. Miller has done with this title has just been phenomenal.
Well, without doubt.
So, and then you have the Batgirl thing. I'm sure with Batgirl, they're making the characters younger across the board. So that maybe they bring in, or they tie in the whole Barbara was in a wheelchair for a while, but she got better. But she's still younger, and so she's going to be Batgirl again. And then you have Nightwing, of course. Birds of Prey. What have we heard about Birds of Prey?
That CBR reports that there will be a Birds of Prey, but it will have no Gale on it. Gale will not be writing it.
Again, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And they just got Nisur Saiz on art on that.
Yeah, I know. That sucks too.
Oh.
This is such a gorgeous comic now. Now, I liked Tony Bedard. He's the one that was writing it when it finished, when they shut it down during the whole Batman died and rebooted all of the supposed quote-unquote Bat titles, even though I don't agree that that's a Bat title. But I was enjoying his run on it. I was enjoying that. Didn't have quite the richness in character and how much each of those women get each other and love each other, but it was still a really enjoyable comic.
Yeah.
They were still all really, strong female characters, doing the same stuff that guys do and whatnot. So it wasn't, it didn't pander to anything and didn't make a mess of anything. So I may still get that comic, if it actually does show back up again, which who knows whether or not really will, because of course that's just rumors, and who's on it. It'll I figure I'll pick it up because I like those characters and I like those characters together. Plus, the fact there's some of those characters I just don't see how you're going to see them anyplace else if they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, for me it goes back to who's on it and I guess kind of where they're going with the title. I'm
sure Dove won't be in it anymore, so you don't.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, I have no idea. I mean, what? Because I don't know what they did with that character after the whole Brightest Day thing.
Well, her appearance in Birds of Prey and her involvement in Brightest Day are totally separate things.
Well, right.
So,
even though they put that damn title on the Birds of Prey comic. I'm
Yeah.
sure it was to try and generate more sales, but whatever.
Well, but it doesn't hurt that they're trying to generate more sales for Birds
Sure,
of Prey.
for sure. No.
I mean, it was a title deserving of attention. So
But we know that by what, June 13th or something like that, we're supposed to know. We should know what all the titles are.
supposedly, yes, June 13th they'll release
Well,
the electronic
they got to tell us
solicitations.
by then, Kurt, or nobody knows what to order.
Oh, right,
Because
right.
they have to make all the advance orders and whatnot. So we have to know by then.
Hmm. But I'm curious if they're actually going to solicit all 52 issues for September, or if we're just going to get a majority of them.
Didn't it say September? I'm looking back over.
I'm sure it did. I'm
looking back over articles really quickly here to see if I can find where.
Yeah, all this information has kind of blended in,
Right.
and I don't remember what actually has been officially announced as opposed to what's rumor.
It says here in the U.S. Today. Let's see. This is a little blurb from the source. USA Today has an exclusive first interview about the decision to launch 52 first issues over a 5-week period.
Oh, okay, there you go.
The design of more than 50 new costumes and what it all means for the world's greatest superheroes. So they aren't all going to come out at once.
So 5 weeks includes that last week in August where Justice League comes out, and so
they're all going to come. Well, they still have to list them. They all come out they all come out in the same month. So
Yep.
we're going to have to know what they all are by the 13th.
Okay, well there you go.
Because that 5 weeks, that's going to be the first week of August and then the 4 weeks that are in September, right?
Yep. I would have to. Yeah, it would have to be that.
So yeah, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. We should get together.
So do you think things being numbered, number one, draws more people in to buy a comic?
It does. It simply does. Yeah.
Does it draw you in to buy a comic because it
No.
says one?
No, but in general it does.
But that's because you've got a longer. I mean, the only thing that number one tells me is that it's potentially a new comic, and I'm at least gonna. I mean, I'm gonna buy it, but I'm at least gonna look at it to see what it is, because maybe it's something that I might be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't buy a comic at number one thinking, oh, if I read it at number one, I'm going to understand what's going on. And if I read it at 300, I'm not going to know what's going on.
See, now, okay.
Is that because I'm a veteran comic book writer, or I'm just not afraid of the fact that I may not know everything about a comic? I mean, most of my family reads the comics that I get. And if it's something that new that they haven't read before, I generally just hand to them and go, read this, accept what it's telling you here. If there is some real significant piece of background that you need to know to understand the story, I'll let you know, but most of the time there really isn't. If you just accept what's being told to you and read it and go along for the ride, you're going to be okay. So why are we renumbering some of those comics? It seems crazy.
Well, other than the obvious answer to that is
people buy
it's number one where they're trying to get new and younger readers on board. So here's a good starting point for you, as opposed to
number ones.
I think you're right.
52 number ones.
52. That's that's 150 some bucks for someone to plunk down if they really want to catch everything. Yeah.
That's if you only read DC titles.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I don't collect tons and tons of other titles. I mean, I do, but I'm certainly not going to. Well, this month I'm not buying those.
I'm more interested. I'm more interested now in months 2 and 3, right? So how is this new thing that DC's doing? How's that going to affect things 2 or 3 months from now?
Oh, for sure, because they'll get that initial sales bump.
Oh yeah,
because there are people who are going to break out the credit cards and go in debt to buy every single number one.
Yeah.
But yeah, how's it going to long term? How is it? What's it really going to be?
But that whole you mentioned before about jumping into a comic and just kind of going with it and so I don't know anybody personally, and I don't. There's not actually a lot of people I talk to about comics that I know personally. You being the major one, but I don't know anybody personally who thinks that coming into a comic that's numbered in 60 or even 600 is an issue.
Yeah.
You buy a comic because you like, primarily I would assume you like that character.
Right. Or something about the book appealed to you.
Yeah, something, either the writer, the artist, or both, or the character, or the publisher even, whatever. You don't buy action comics now because or let me rephrase that. I don't think people who buy Action Comics are concerned about the fact that it's over 900 issues now.
Right.
There's no way nobody can go back and get issue 1 of Action Comics and work their way through to up to 900 nowadays. It's just not feasible. So I don't understand the criticism by some people that I've read online that they can't get into some of these long running titles because they're long running. That doesn't.
You think you got to go back and collect every issue? I mean, that's
do you think that's what it is? Is these people who they have this huge collector mentality that they have to have all of them, and so there's like, well, I don't even want to bother now.
Or they think they're going to be uninformed if they don't read the whole thing. Well,
okay,
I got to tell you, if I had to go back and read every Batman title to be informed on Batman, how could you keep it all straight and remember it all? Short of having eidetic memory.
Well,
there's no way.
Or be Grant Morrison. But yeah.
Oh, come on, even he is.
No, I think if anybody could do it, he could.
Yeah. But I think he spent, yeah. But still, that's just, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of crazy. But that has to be I don't know, because I don't know anybody that's that way either. Because I guess I don't know any new comic book fans. I don't know anybody new who's just going in to start reading comics, because I don't hang out at the local comic book store. It's not like I happen to be there and somebody walks in and goes, and I hear them talking about, I've never collected comics, but I'm interested in collecting comics. What should I be reading? I'm always one, if I'm staying in a store and that kind of thing happens, to open my mouth, to give my opinion. Because I appreciate it if I was the person standing there going, I'm not sure what's there, to hear other fans' opinions on what might be interesting or not interesting and why. But because I'm not exposed to those news people, and is that the problem? There aren't any new people?
Well, I don't think that's true, but right. I think the numbers are really small. When I go into the comic shop in Spokane, I'm standing there looking at stuff, or I'm talking to the guys that work there. I do notice the people who come in. Now, part of this is part of what I see at this comic shop is because of that particular comic shop. Other comic shops may have a different clientele, but I'm seeing people younger than myself. Mostly men, of course, but I see a lot of women come in and buy comics, and not just like the Vertigo stuff or indie stuff. They're actually buying superhero stuff. I do see that.
That's good.
So yeah, that is good.
Right. Well, I just wonder on the digital comic thing, how many people will go to that? I mean, I think the people who are collecting comics now probably just keep collecting comics, the same habits they have.
Yeah.
Maybe a few more will go to digital because they can get it same day. But I wonder how many customers will start reading comic books that didn't read comic books before because of the digital, that would have never went and bought a comic book. I mean, because they buy everything else online, their music and stuff. They don't ever go into a music store, would never go into a music store, but they buy it online. And now that's just one thing that they can consume online, like TV shows and everything else, that they're going to pick up a certain amount more of readership, because of that.
Well, I'm sure that's definitely their hope, but DC, I think especially, really needs to. Not just DC. I think all the companies that do this, they need to do a better job of advertising, basically getting the word out there, cross promoting, saying, bringing them into the digital stores that they have. Otherwise, what would entice someone to go to Comixology and buy a new DC comic or a Marvel comic, unless they already knew of it?
So you've watched both Thor and X-Men First Class in the theater, right? So
right.
Did Marvel run any comic book ads?
See, precisely. That's exactly what they need to do. They do not do that. They
should. Guaranteed there's comic book ads around the Green Lantern thing. I've heard without doubt that they are promoting the comic book either before or after the movie.
Oh, okay, good. That's what they need to do.
You watch the movie, and then after the movie, it's them saying, "Hey, you like the movie? Here's these Green Lantern titles."
Mm-hmm. Yep, and not just promoting comics via the movies. They need to do other kinds of advertising, TV spots, online stuff especially. They gotta put some banner ads out there in places.
Spinner racks, man. You need to go back to spinner racks. You need to be able to walk into any convenience store or any checkout line. There'll be comic books set there.
Well,
That's
yeah.
how we all get the comic books. They're,
Well, people
nothing's
our age.
changed as far as that goes. You've still got 6, 7, and 8-year-olds that are having to ride along with mom and, go to the crappy grocery store and ride along in the cart or push the damn cart or whatever. The reward for that is you get a comic book somewhere out of it.
Yeah.
Now the only thing you see is the Archie anthologies.
Yep, that's true.
And I think it's a mistake that we still don't have comic books in those places.
I agree. Speaking of this, did you read or see that? Was it Barnes and Noble? No.
It's
Barnes and Noble
got started putting up comic books.
No. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, because they've already had the trades, but yeah, now they're doing the monthlies.
Singles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right along with the rest of the magazines in the magazine rack. Yeah, I've seen some pictures of that.
So that's good. That's potentially good news there. Getting more people who may not.
Not good news for a comic book. Well, I guess it could be good news for comic book retailer.
Okay, well, unless there's something else you wanted to say, let's.
Oh no. Like I said, I can talk forever, but it's comic books.
All right. Well, I guess
we can save it for another day.
Yeah. Well, we should definitely get together and like say after June 13th, and talk about the rest of what's coming out.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, Travis, thank you again. This was again a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff with you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Like I said, I always enjoy talking about comic books.
Yeah. All right. So for those of you who have stuck around for these 2 hours or so, however long it ends up being when I edit this. Thanks for listening, and be sure to check out both my website and Travis's. And so mine is longboxreview.wordpress.com, and then Travis's is oddfellowsthoughts.wordpress.com, and you can check out the things that we post and leave us some comments. And also, you can go to iTunes and leave some reviews or anything about the podcast that you like and maybe things you don't like. Either way, love to hear from you. Thanks again, Travis. We'll talk soon.